function without her. All right, so let's get started, guys. Welcome to our Wednesday night call. We've got Brett Klesko joining us, and for those of you that haven't had the pleasure of meeting him yet, he is a chiropractor, a second generation. His dad is also a chiropractor, also in the business, and Brett also was the patient of chiropractors, unfortunately, but received great care. And I'm not going to tell any more about his story because I had the pleasure of hearing it. Where were we? We were standing in the pool, but was that Arizona when you shared your story with me? And my jaw was just like, what? That's crazy. So I don't want to share any of it. I'm going to let Brett take it away from here and tell us your story, Brett, how you heard about Juice Plus and go from there, your experience and so on.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah. So my story goes way back, actually. It goes back all the way to 2003. As Melissa said, my father's also within the business, and he was the one that introduced me to it. Back about, I'd say about 15, 16 years ago, they met two people named Mark and Yvonne, and many of us knew who they are. And they met on a cruise, and they were introduced to Juice Plus. And my dad was kind of periodically taking it, just kind of doing whatever. He believed in fruits and vegetables, so it kind of went like that. But in 2003, we had a bit of a crisis. And what my crisis was is that in walking across the street, one of my friends hit me with her car. And she was going about 50, 60 kilometers an hour. So it was actually quite fast. And I got tossed in the air and I landed on the ground really hard. And I really hurt myself. I almost died that night, and it wasn't a good time. I broke my ankle really, really badly. Like my left ankle was pretty much mush by the time they got to it. But I had a good surgeon, and he was able to put it back together. But I had done so much damage that we weren't entirely sure if it was going to heal. In fact, there was an 80% chance that my ankle wouldn't heal. And I was 17 years old at the time. And what was basically is if my ankle didn't heal, they were going to fuse it. And if anybody knows anybody with a fused ankle or ever had an ankle injury, you know that you don't get a lot of range of motion as it is, and the fusion would make it stick in spot. Like it wouldn't move. You wouldn't get moving up, down, in, out, or anything like that. And at the time, I was a major hockey player. I was snowboarding. I was wakeboarding. I was kind of doing everything. So I was really active. So this would have taken everything away. And so that really wasn't an option to us, but that was what was put in front of me. And I went into surgery and I came out and everything looked pretty good. The surgeon was pretty happy with how it went. And he sent me home. And we asked him, okay, like, yeah, it was a major injury. Is there anything we can do to really help the healing process? And he said, no, you go home. There's nothing you can do. You either heal or you don't heal. And that was the two options we were given. And this is from a leading surgeon in the area. And so we went, okay, we trust the surgeon. He knows what he's talking about, right? And so we went home. And 3 weeks went by. I went in and I had to get my cast removed and a new one put on. And they re-x-rayed and nothing was healing. Nothing was going on. And so they went, no, we still have high hopes. So go home, wait another 3 weeks, come back. And we'll recheck again when we remove your cast. So once again, went home with the thought process of just, if it heals, it heals. And so we went back 3 weeks later and we got another x-ray. And if anybody broken a bone, 6 weeks goes by, you're pretty much healed, right? Cast goes on, 6 weeks, cast goes off, and you're on your other direction, right? Well, they took the x-ray and it still wasn't healing. So this is 6 weeks in and the bone hadn't even started to knit. There was no healing going on. It was still broken as it was the day after surgery. So at this time, now things start becoming very real. Doctor starts kind of prepping me for, okay, what happens if it doesn't heal? If it doesn't heal, it'll start to die. If it dies, it'll break under your own weight, and then we'll have to fuse it. Or maybe proactively fuse it before we have to do that. So those were our options in front of us. And now it was not looking like 80% chance of failure. It's now looking more like 90, 95% chance of failure. So we still had high hopes. And at this time, I'm still 17 years old going like, nah, I'm invincible. This can't happen to me kind of thing, right? I know everything. And we went home and once again asked, is there anything we can do? And the same answer, nope, nothing you can do. If it heals, it heals. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So another 6 weeks go by and we go in. And now at this time, the bone has started to die when we got the x-ray done. So now our worst fears were realized and now we were running out of time. And this is when it hit. And my dad told me this story actually no more than about a month ago. He said that he remembered that day because he looked over, and I'd always had that nonchalant, oh, this can't happen to me attitude. But at that point, it hit me, and everything had just kind of fallen away. And he said he was watching me, and he see in my eyes that I was starting to give up. And he kind of got all mad, and he got all angry, and he pretty much got really pissed off. And what he did is he went, no, this isn't good enough for kind of he's not naked, but he wanted to come hang out. So what had happened was my dad got mad, he got angry, and what he did is he's just like, you know what, we're going to reach out to everybody that we know. We're going to do everything we can to not let this happen. And he phoned up Mark and Yvonne, and he talked to them, and they're like, well, it wouldn't hurt us, it's fruits and vegetables. So I went on Juice Plus, and I had 6 weeks to make it heal. If it didn't heal in 6 weeks, I was going in for surgery. So I went on a double dose. At that time, they didn't have the vineyard, they just had the orchard and garden. And I went on, and every single day I did that, and every single day I moved my ankle around, and every single day I just had that thought process of, no, this is going to heal, no, this is going to heal. And 6 weeks go by, and now it's crunch time. We go in, we get the x-ray, the doctor comes in, and he looks at it, he kind of gets that weird look on his face, and then he kind of tilts his head side to side, he holds it up to different lighting. He does everything he can. Little monkey. He does everything he can to okay, hold on. He does everything he can to just kind of to see it in different lighting and everything he can. And he brings in another doctor, he brings in a few of his other nurses, and then he disappears for 15 minutes. So the entire time my mom and I are stressing out because everything we've kind of worked for the last 12 weeks is like really coming to this point. And so about 30 minutes later, he comes back and he goes, simply, it's healed. And so we kind of go, okay. And I have no words. And he just sits there and stares at us and then goes, what did you do? And my mom very simply and very bluntly said, fruits and vegetables. And his response, which I find very funny to this day, was, no, that can't possibly be it. And knowing what I know now, it's such a ridiculous answer, and it shows that massive disconnect. So for me, that was everything. I got back to playing hockey. It took me 7 years to back to playing hockey, snowboarding within 4 years. I started running in my 8th year. I played Division I college hockey, and I went back and I got myself back. And if talking to many of you that know me, you wouldn't know that I had this injury because I healed so well from it. Now, what I don't mention a lot, and people that have heard my story, like that to me is really powerful. You cannot take away anything from me. My belief in the product is unshakable. You can't say anything or give me enough money to go off of it, which is really what drives my business. Because I know that every person I recommend this to is going to have maybe not that dramatic of a reaction, but they're going to have something good happen to them. And what I don't talk about was the fact that during that car accident, I didn't just damage my ankle. I hit my head so hard. I had 2 skull fractures, and I was actually had massive internal bleeding in my head. And I almost died that night. And I lost about 6 months of memory. I lost the ability to be able to retain any type of anything. You give me a phone number, and I remember trying to memorize a phone number as 2 digits, and that's all I could get. So I only went through physically my ankle, but mentally I was so damaged. And for anybody that knows anybody that's had a brain injury, they're incredibly hard to deal with and so variant. But I knew at that time, and I know better now, that whatever was healing my ankle was also healing my brain and my body at the same time. And if I look back, I have a massive question and serious doubt if I would have even got close to where I'm at now, if it wasn't for that nutrition at that really important time in my life. So it's something that is really powerful to me. My story is what drives me. My belief is, like I said, unshakable. But that was in 2003, and I've been on it ever since. But it took how long would that be now? I started the business almost 3 years ago. So however long that is, about my parents pestering me and Mark and Yvonne pestering me to do this business because they knew that I had such a powerful story behind it. And so we stepped into the business after I got out of chiropractic college, which was a struggle. I was able to do it. I was able to kind of work my way through it, and I was able to step into the business. But I'm going to tell you a little bit of our background. Of any other private business owners here would probably be able to back up what I'm going to say. But I went through school. I got about $200,000 worth of debt, which is about average. And I actually was lucky because I went to school in the States when the Canadian dollar was higher than the American dollar. So that was nice. Can't imagine what it'd be like today. But I came out with a ton of debt. And I came out with being kind of that poor student mentality for pretty much all my life. But when we're going through school, we get business training, and our business training is what to expect, how to run your business, how to basically just business 101. Pretty basic stuff, but it really gives you an ideology of your money, your monetary value. And so we walk out $200,000. Usually that's small compared to the undergrad, and depending on your living, some people had 300, some people had $500,000 worth of debt. But our first 3 years, we're told that we're going to be making negative money. On top of the money we have to put down into our business to get it started. So now we have to lend ourselves and loan ourselves money that's going to last for 3 years of our living and our expenses for our business. And then after 3 years, we start making money. Now, this is actually pretty average for private business. Private business is a lot of money up front. It is a lot of risk, and most of them fail. This is what we're given. Okay, we have $200,000 worth of student loans. Now, good luck. And that's what it was. For the first few years, it was a struggle, but Sarah and I saw it. Within our first 3 or 4 months of me practicing, we realized, like, oh crap, we need to change something. So that's when we stepped into the Juice Plus business. Within 6 months, we had enough income that was paying our mortgage. It was paying part of my student loans. And within 2 years, we had all my student loans covered for the monthly payments and our mortgage. And as of last month, we are completely 100% out of debt. So we were able to pay off everything. And that residual income, until you get it, you don't really understand how powerful it is. But it truly, as powerful as my product story is for how it healed me and made me, well, almost brought me back from the brink, the business story is almost as powerful. Because for me, this was not a short-term gain. This is a long-term thing that's going to help me through my practice and through everything that I do. So my belief on business and product is, like I said, absolutely unshakable. There's nothing you can tell me or say to me that's going to change my mind on it. And that's how I approach everything that I do. If your belief system isn't there, you're not going to be able to do very well.
Wow. Amazing stories, both business and product. I'm sure everybody would agree. Yeah, big thumbs up. Told you it was a wow story. So tell us about a typical, your DMO, Brett, your daily method of operation. You've got a young family, you've got a practice. How do you fit this in? You've got to be way too busy to do something like this.
A lot of people separate that stuff. So I just recently opened up a second practice. So I work in 2 different places, one in a strict chiropractic office and one in a multidisciplinary yoga studio, personal training, massage, acupuncture, all these things. But as we're doing these things, you have to incorporate Juice Plus with it. My daily mode of operation is one thing. It's share it and talk to people and get used to that and build that ability to say what you do and explain who you are in 30 seconds or less. And in school, we were constantly called out in front of our other 120 other classmates and going, explain chiropractic in 30 seconds. And it's really hard to do. If I were to ask a lot of you, like, explain what Juice Plus is and explain what you do, would many of you be able to put that into 30 seconds or less? Probably not, or probably not right now. It takes a ton of practice. So my daily mode of operation is just writing a list of things that I need to get better at and doing them, sharing with more people, explaining who I am and what I do, because people are going to be attracted to why you do something, not what you do, right? Building that why. And then now in the position that I'm at, it's working with my team. My daily mode of operation is just education, education, education.
That's awesome. Maybe you could share your verbiage that you use, Brett, to give some people some other examples of this. What do you say what Juice Plus is?
This is a difficult one. It depends on who I am and who I'm talking to, right? So if you're an 8-year-old kid, of course, I'm going to explain it very simply. But for the average person, it's as simple as this is just fruits and vegetables to bridge the gap between what you should be getting and what you are getting. And then if they have a specific need, I ask questions a lot. If you meet me, I'm probably going to spend the next 5 minutes or first 5 minutes asking you questions. You ask, you find a need, and you react appropriately and genuinely. So it's a very difficult thing for me to answer that question because from person to person, it's going to be dramatically different. Very rarely do I push things. I've never been a person that goes, you need this, do this. I'm more of a person that is going to give you the information and let you decide. But if you decide to do something, I am also going to hold you accountable. I'm going to talk to you about, okay, you made this decision, you're going to do this. Why is that important to you? And build their beliefs. So if you're dealing with a new team, you need to make sure you're on the same page at the same time, and you're dealing with prospects, same concept.
Awesome. And how would you recommend sharing with other health professionals, or would you?
Okay, so if anybody's dealt with other health professionals, they're the single hardest people to deal with, and that's harder than your family and your friends, which are the next hardest. We're incredibly hard to deal with. We have a built-in wall that goes up automatically. Anybody that's in that health profession has had things thrown at them. This is the next best thing. Sell this in your practice. Represent me. Do this for me. And as soon as you hear it, the wall goes up. The best way to work with health professionals is using the professionals within the business that can relate to them, and using third-party validation. It is the biggest tool that we use. The same way I would try to convince a friend is, my friends look at me and they remember what I was like at 15 years old. They're not going to trust me now. This is kind of the way it goes, right? So I've made contacts with, or for example, Monica is an athlete top to bottom. So if I have an athlete that's going to be going crazy, I'm going to be phoning up Monica and going like, hey, can you talk to this person? Because she lives it. I have direct contact with some of the head doctors in Juice Plus because I've gone out. I talked to Bill Sears. I talked to Rick DuBois. I talked to these guys because if I need something, these are the people I reach out to. If it's a numbers nerd, I reach out to Mark. If it's a mom, I reach out to people like Jennifer Owens, and I reach out to team from all across the country to see like, who is the person that's going to be able to connect with this person at their level. And you have to do that with health professionals too. They won't always hear it from you, and you have to be very patient. This could take a year, this could take 5 years, this could take 10 years, and it may never be possible with certain people. So you have to accept that, and always work with the people that are reaching out and want your help, rather than trying to push and pull people that aren't doing anything.
Yeah, that's so true. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Brett. Just one last question. So you said about education, because everybody's DMO will be different for the most part based on their life. But maybe you could share some things that, areas for personal development, favorite books, tips, things like that?
Yeah, something Sarah and I and some of the other leaders within our team, we're the Honey Badgers. So we got our own team kind of underneath Team Canada 2000. And what we've done is we have actually created something called Honey Badger University. And it's a list of 12 months worth of audiobooks. So we do 2 audiobooks a month. We do one on personal development and one on network marketing skill set. So each one is going to develop you in a different way. And what we've been doing is going through them all. I love motivation. My big thing is like powerful speeches. For example, we've all probably listened to Eric Worre's Go Pro, and he has his speech in there. And every time I listen to that, I get all pumped up. That's my motivation. If I'm having a bad day, I love to watch just like even little videos on YouTube that are like, no, you got this kind of thing. But audiobooks are my favorite. I drive quite a bit. Since my accident, I don't retain reading very well. I skip lines. I don't retain it. I have to constantly read back. I get frustrated. So for me, audiobooks are the key. I have one in my car at all times. We've downloaded audible.com onto our phones, and we can actually download audiobooks like nothing, plug them into our cars and listen to them wherever we go. So it's really easy to do. You don't need to buy CDs or buy this or buy that. It's simply on your phone. And so even if you're sitting or going for a walk somewhere, you can pop your earbuds in and go. I don't have a favorite, as I'm constantly kind of finding new favorites. GoPro is a powerful one for me. Business of the 21st Century is a short one that I love to listen to over and over. It just hammers the point down of why we're doing what we're doing. Sarah brings up this really good point of when we all start from the beginning, and even when we're established, we all have this candle in front of us. And our candles are belief. And sometimes the flame is really big and sometimes the flame is really small. And from time to time, people can kind of enter your lives and they can attempt to blow out your candle. And if your flame is small, it doesn't take much. Like, that's a pyramid scheme, and there goes your candle, right? So it's using those tools around you that are going to really ignite your flame, get your flame bigger to the point where it's a raging inferno and nobody's going to be able to blow it out.
That's awesome. I love that analogy, Brett. And then one other question, just for the males on the call here tonight and team and so on, because you guys do business differently than girls. So outside your practice, because that's a whole different relationship, right? There's obviously a lot of respect there with your patients. I would imagine most of them would just, okay, great, listen to you and do what the doctor says. So outside of that, when you're just Brett, not Dr. Brett, what kind of events do you do? How are you sharing it with other guys?
So guys are simple. We are simple. It's the way we are. Guys don't, and I've found this for a long time, is guys don't overly respond well to in-home meetings. It's just something that I've noticed, and the guys will kind of be sitting off in the corner or right by the bar or sitting in front of the TV, not talking to each other. And that's kind of how we are. We're kind of like, we just don't like that socialization as much. I found how to build team with guys is one-on-one, face-to-face, belly-to-belly. But on top of that, these conversations come up on the regular. I play in a hockey team. These conversations come up sometimes in the middle of playing hockey. We'll be in the warm-up and it'll come up. It'll be in the gym a lot with a lot of guys. But they're natural conversations. We have a weird thing with us. I don't know what it is. I'd like to think it's stubbornness, but I think it's just, I think it's stupidity more than anything. But whenever we're approached with something, we can sniff out the sales pitch immediately. And a lot of people can probably relate to that, is the minute something sounds almost too good to be true, we're just like, oh, nope. And then you kind of man dance and walk yourself away out of that conversation. So forcing conversations with guys is extremely difficult. All the guys on my team that I've built have been conversations at bars randomly. They've been dinner meetings or going out for lunch with each other, or like just I met one guy who was on my team for a long time by meeting him at the dog park kind of thing. So they're much more natural conversations, much more frustrating, but also very big payout. Because when guys kind of make up their mind, they're usually all in. They do not like to fail. We do not like to fail. We will do whatever it takes not to fail, and when we make our decision, we're in. But once again, three-way calls. Use guys that you know. Use whoever that you have that you think can relate to it.
Awesome. And what about actual events? What kind of events are you guys running?
We're doing a lot more interaction. So we used to do a lot of wine tasting, beer tasting. One really fun one was a crib tournament. That was a really fun one. We did a craft beer tasting, which just ended up into a pretty crazy night. Got the most customers I've ever seen, but it was actually, I think, the hangover thing that was probably the biggest kicker out of that night. But we found a lot of working with people in gyms. We started doing a lot of yoga training. We started doing a lot of like physical exercise linked with it. We did a barbecue one that was probably one of the best ones I've ever seen. So getting outside a lot and -37, not so easy. But we're doing a lot of stuff like that with as much more interaction. We've been doing some health panels that have been really big for guys and girls alike, and making everything accessible to families, and making sure that the moms and dads can bring their kids with them. And if you don't have kids, that's fine. You're not going to be affected by it. But definitely a very relaxed situation where conversation comes up very naturally and the presentation is short and sweet. Guys will once again turn off. If you're talking more than 4 or 5 minutes, guys are zoned out, their eyes are already glazed over, and they're thinking about something else. So the shorter, the sweeter, I've always found, and then let the natural conversations go. A lot of us make the mistake of talking too much, selling something too much, not being comfortable with these silences in between questions, and talking yourself out of a situation. Embrace the silences, answer the big questions afterwards, and just short, sweet, respect their time.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Brett, for all those tips and ideas. Let's open it up and see if anybody has any questions. Just unmute yourself, guys, and ask Brett. Fire away. Was he that thorough? Nobody has any questions?
Gotta be something.
Monica, come on, you gotta have a question. Oh, can you unmute everybody, Nikki? She's saying she can't unmute herself. There we go.
That's better.
Something.
I'm like, I can't talk. Hey, Brett, how's it going? I haven't seen you in so long, man.
Oh, it's been way too long. We
I
got to get something
know.
good. Come now.
Anaheim. Anaheim. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Go ahead, ask your question.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, you kind of like took me off guard, but here's a question, mine as well. So I have a few team members on my on this Zoom here, and I have to thank Melissa and Nicole that they let me join their Zooms. So here's the question, because I want to help my team, and what would be an advice that you would give for those who have fears? Like they wanna succeed, they do wanna succeed, but somehow they struggle with their own right and personal growth. But coming from you,
Sarah and I have recently did a training event in Kelowna where we talked about posture. And what we mean by posture is not head up, shoulders back, walking around or whatever. It's posture is how you hold yourself and how you talk about things. When you have the fears and you have questions and doubts and trepidations about anything, about yourself, the product, the business, whatever it may be, those fears are going to come up as negative input from other people around you. You're going to attract these things to you. You have to recognize your fears, number one. You absolutely have to. For mine, a long time was I don't like being confrontational. I don't like kind of getting into tough conversations with people. And I had to recognize that to change that. Once you recognize that, you then have to fix it. So for team members that are leading or have a lot of fear, this has to be an open conversation that people have, right? And then you have to work on it. And that's, Monica, where you're going to come in of just maybe even putting input and be like, listen, is this something we want to build on, right? But something also Melissa talked about is using are you using kind of the tools around you, such as like the audiobooks and everything like that, to improve your posture. So probably I'll use the best example, one that we deal with day in, day out, is the price. And this is probably the biggest one, and people are like, it's too expensive, it's too expensive, it's too expensive. Most people that have that come to them is because they feel it's too expensive. That $100 a month is, there's no way, right? And the minute that you go, the price is the best part. The price is the absolute best part because of what it is. You know what it is, and then you explain it that way. You keep practicing that over and over, and you truly believe it, these fears of the business will go away. And the fear of the no is probably the next biggest one, of being turned down or feeling like you failed if somebody says no. And like I said about that flame, like, no, there goes your flame, you're done, you walk away kind of thing, right? You have to keep practicing and realizing that the no's are not no, they're not right now. I truly believe that this product is for everybody. The business may not be, the product is for everybody, no matter who you are. So with that, and that's why we share stories like this, so you know that. And if somebody says no, maybe not right now, but something to follow through in the end.
that's great. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was great explained. I'm not sure if anyone has other question, but I have another one.
Okay, go. Go ahead.
Is anyone else? Right. Okay. So, okay, Brett. So, would you share with us why is so important for anyone to have a vision in order to succeed?
Vision in the sense of goals, or
yeah, in a vision on what do you want to achieve with this business?
Oh, that's going to drive you to do your DMOs. If you don't have, okay, I have a really good example for this one too. Something that made a lot of sense to me, because I didn't understand that one for a really long time. A lot of people talk about vision boards and having your goals in front of you, but why was that important? Mine are constantly in here, right? Why is putting it in visual format important? Mm-hmm. And I had a woman come from Australia that explained this really, really well. And her little task for us to do was, in 5 minutes, write down 100 things that mean a lot to you. Friends, family, your work, exercise, nutrition, whatever it may be. You make a list of 100 things. It could be beer, going out on weekends, going to this place, vacations, whatever it is, you just start writing. So 5 minutes later, You get as many as you can down. Some people did 10, some people did 20, some people did 30, some people did 100, some people did 200. Out of that list, what she told to do next is pick your top 5. And the top 5 are usually along the terms of family, friends, your health, exercise, whatever, maybe vacation, downtime, date night, whatever it was. You pick your top 5. And then you sat there, and it was tough. You had to pick 5, and you're just like, oh man, that was really tough. And then she told you to pick 3. At this point, you're choosing between family and friends, your health, and a few other things. And she told us her list, and she actually kicked her family out of her top 3. And the reason being is that if her family disappears, she can still live. These top 3 are things that you cannot survive without. She then told us after that to build your vision board based off of those 3, meaning that every decision you make, every goal you make has those top 3 beliefs in it. And if you are not making decisions that include all 3 beliefs, those are the wrong decisions. So once you make your goals off of that mindset, those goals then become a lot more powerful, a lot more real, and they will drive every single decision that you make along the way, making them that much more powerful and that much more accountable to yourself. So having those goals is unbelievably important, but having the mindset behind those goals is more important.
That was incredible explanation. Thank you so much.
Well,
yeah, wow, that was interesting perspective. Really, really cool. Yeah, we just finished doing a vision board exercise with our team, so food for thought. Maybe a little editing required now. Anybody else?
Hey, ones, you got to have ones in there, the big ones. Like I always have my car in there that I really want. Am I going to survive without that? Absolutely. But that's my fun ones. But the core are the big ones, right?
There's some gray area.
Yeah, of course.
Anyone else? Questions for Brett? No. All right. Well, we will wrap it up. And a huge thank you from our entire team, Brett, for taking time out of your busy night to share your story with all of us. I'm sure everyone is just wowed and valuable, and another story in our collections now that we'll keep there when something similar like that comes up, or someone in your health profession comes up. You've given us some great tips, so thank you again from all of us. Have a great night, and great rest of the night to all you guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Brett. So good to see you.
Well, thanks for the invite. It was really nice to get out and talk to other people. So thanks again.
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much, Brett.
Ciao, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.